Welcome back to our last talk on this day 5 of Interpack. It is a very special and for the industry also very important topic that we are going to cover now. The headline of this talk is the EU Commission's proposal for a regulation on packaging and packaging waste. And with me is an expert on that field. With me is Dr. Wolfgang Trunk, Policy Officer at the EU Commission and in Brussels, and also team leader in the DG Environments unit from waste to resources. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes, thank you for the kind introductory remarks. And I really must say I'm very happy to be here in Germany, which is my home country. And you can imagine that since our publication of the Commission proposal for the new packaging law in November 2022, I was kind of traveling around, touring around through all the European Union, and it's a special pleasure to come to Germany, which is not only the biggest member state in terms of citizens, but also important packaging industry is located here. So it's I'm really reassured that I took the decision to come to Düsseldorf today.
You have already told me that you had a very busy schedule today. Have you been to Interpack before, or is this your first time?
No, it's the first time, and I must say, initially I got a small invite, and then I said, well, I cannot, just for this small event, I cannot make it, and then I kind of informed several people that I'll be there, and whoops, my agenda was completely full, and so. But maybe this is the last event of the day, or at least the official one.
That's good. Yeah, it is a very important topic, I already said. The new regulation that is coming, also maybe one that makes the, that drives a lot of emotions, I guess, because a lot is going to change. Can you talk us through the process of developing such a regulation?
Yes, you mentioned it already. It is not only interesting, it is concerning everybody. Every consumer, every citizen is concerned, but also all the industry is concerned. You have really the whole industry, the whole economy is confronted with packaging, and so of course it is in the high in the agenda of everybody, every stakeholder, every company. It's really massive. And when we come out, when the Commission Commission who has the monopoly for kind of legislative proposals, at first we do a kind of an impact assessment, a real impact assessment, but the starting point is always, what problem do we want to solve with this? In former times, there was a myth that in Brussels, the people, they just create some legislation to whatever, for whatever reasons, but the starting point is always, why do you need this new legislation? And in this case, it was quite obvious that the current directive did not achieve its objective of reducing packaging waste and of making the packaging more sustainable. And that was the starting point for us to reflect where can we act and what can we do in order to improve the situation in packaging. And the second big thing was, and this is why I would say was our support to make it through, that the Commission can propose something in war times, in times where you have a very high inflation rate, and everybody has to see where his budget or expenditure goes. So in this time, to come up with a proposal, with an ambitious proposal, and that was because we could really prove there are huge economic benefits of the proposal. So both things. First of all, we have to tackle the problem of everlasting increasing waste generation with a very bad impact on the environment, poor sustainability of packaging, and on the other side, the packaging sector is confronted with huge administrative burden to cope with all this scattered legislation all over the 27 member states.
How important is it that this new regulation is a regulation and not a directive?
Yes, so you could say in principle the difference between the current scheme, which is a directive where the member states have a huge leeway or flexibility to create their national systems in this framework which the directive gives them, and this led to a very diverging situations throughout the EU, and we found, first of all, that there is a huge discrepancy between the member states in terms of delivering on the objectives, but also that the industry is confronted with these national schemes, which costs a lot of money, the administrative burden I mentioned already. And so it is very important. And the third point is why it is so important to have this regulation with harmonized rules is that we have this shift in architecture, in philosophy, that we overcome this thing from targets on member state level, on a government level. We go down to the product base. So we come now with requirements at product level imposed on the economic operator. And this is a game-changing element of the proposal, that we say, well, the government in Athens cannot cope with unsustainable packaging in Greece. They don't have the leverage to act on and to really mitigate the problems, and therefore we impose it on the economic operators in Greece who place packaging on the market or who run a retailer or so on. This is a big game-changing element of the new proposal.
Can you tell us a bit more about the, things that are really included in or will be included in the regulation that are going to change for companies? Is there something that you are particularly happy about that made it into the regulation?
Well, let me start the usual. Okay, I will not forget the most important ones. So I will start with the articles. I think a very important point is our recycled content requirements for plastic packaging. We know that plastic is our kind of Achilles heel, because first of all we have a low recycling rate of these valuable often with high fossil fuel input produced plastic packaging, but then we have a small collection rate, a poor recycling rate, and especially within this recycling, a very low quality, a downcycling. And therefore, with our new proposal to come up with these recycled content minimum requirements on each plastic packaging that is placed on the market, we really makes a difference, and we see already the pull that this new announced requirements have on the whole recycling value chain that we created by this. So we really pull all these waste, this plastic waste, into a high quality recycling, and this is one of the big and the other two, let's say, where I'm really happy is this harmonization for the labeling requirements. We have the industries complaining, and with a good point, with all these national labeling rules. And so with the new proposal, we come up with a harmonized scheme, probably based on these pictograms. So you don't even need a language. But the important point is that you have the pictogram not only on the packaging, but also on the waste receptacle. That means on the waste bin or on the waste bag. And so the consumer directly knows, and even I as a consumer, and I'm an expert in terms of packaging at least, sometimes I'm confused, do I put it in Germany in the blue bag or on the white or whatever. So this is a big process in order to to overcome this consumer confusion in which where to dispose properly a certain packaging, but this has incredible benefits for the downstream value chain, because then you have the recycling streams are much more efficient if you have this good already purity and good sorting already from the beginning. And this is also a huge proposal. Or let's say, last point, and then you feel I'm a little bit enthusiastic about this. And the last point is also in terms of biodegradable, compostable packaging. There's a lot of greenwashing around. People think if it's a biodegradable plastic bag, I need it, I use it because it's bio. But in fact, we really overcome this gray zone hybrid solution. We come with clear rules, what goes into the bio-waste stream, what goes into material recycling, and this to the benefit of the environment, circularity, and the consumer should be clear with also, again, with these pictograms. Okay, this goes into the organic waste stream, bio-waste stream, and this goes into the blue bag, or in Germany, the yellow bag for material recycling.
Mm-hmm. In order to get good quality recycled and also the amount that you need, you already mentioned that the right sorting in consumer households is very important, and the icons and labels that are clear to consumers. Are there other aspects of the regulation where you take companies where you make them accountable for informing the consumer on packaging, on materials, and on sorting their waste correctly?
Well, there's one thing that I have not yet addressed, and this is the recyclability. Our political leaders, they decided in 2022 to announce that by 2030 all packaging must be recyclable. And so we come up now with, we are aware that there are a lot of packaging around which is very difficult to recycle, multi-layer materials, multi-material packaging, and so on. And these packaging will be in future classified in different categories of packaging, and the lowest category category E or grade E will be completely banned from the market. And so we have this kind of ranking for every packaging. It will be ranked according to his recyclability. The poorest recyclability will be completely banned from the market. It has to disappear. It cannot be placed on the market, and only recyclable. And within this recyclable, you also have composite, let's say a tetra pack, or a composite beverage container. He can be further improved in order to increase recyclability of this specific product. And like this, you really have then for the consumer also that he knows where to place it, and for the industry to how to cope with. And these grades, these different grades, currently we count A, B, C, D, but we can also simplify it and only make 2 or 1. 2 or 3, but the important thing is that the EPR fees, for those who know, this is the money that the producer, the manufacturer, has to pay for the collection of the waste, and then later on for the end-of-life treatment, that this is linked to the recyclability. So if I place on the market a monomaterial which is easily to recycle, then you can have a lower fee, so the producer has to pay less for the EPR fee, and like this we kind of encourage the whole industry to increase not only to have recyclable, but also to have a higher recyclability for their products, for their packaging.
Would you say that the focus of the new regulation is very much on this like end of life of packaging, the waste management and recyclability maybe, or is it very balanced and also looking at the beginning of a packaging, of the design and everything?
Yeah. Absolutely. So we have the whole chain on the focus. So the packaging, the regulation, it starts from the production, from the design phase of a concrete packaging, so that it is at the best recyclable design already. But then we have the whole life cycle, the whole value chain under the screen. Let me come to a later step in this value chain is DRS systems. We require, Germany well known, but we require we require that the valuable PET bottles and the aluminum cans, which can be very good recycled the PET bottles for in mechanical recycling, and also the aluminum cans can be very good. So that these valuable packaging items do not land in the residual municipal waste, but they go into recycling via DRS, and this is a very, very important measure to have a high collection rate of these valuable goods in order to bring it back into closed loop recycling.
Until the 23rd of April, companies from the industry have been able to give you kind of feedback and insight on what they think about the regulation and maybe what they think should change or could be improved. Has this process of reviewing already started, and can you tell us something about the insight you got from companies from the industry?
Yes, so I can tell you already with this proposal we break every record in terms of social media, because not only it's very interesting for the citizens, packaging, but also because the whole industry is concerned. So we had an overwhelming, I think, 519 respondents to this have a say, how we call it, and these 519. They all made some constructive proposals how the proposal can be further improved, and indeed it is now the Commission proposal is out, and now it's in the hands of the co-legislator. So we as Commission, we are rather now the moderator to moderate the negotiations between the Council and the European Parliament. And this information that we receive from these 519 stakeholder and consumer organizations input, this will, let's say, kind of support us in kind of moderating and trying to find good compromises in order to further improve the final text.
Mm-hmm. How important is this exchange between politics, the industry, companies? How important is that, and what role do events like this Interpack, this fair, play for you, do you think?
Well, we have our better regulation rules, so that means that all stakeholders, the NGOs, European associations, national associations, directly big companies, they are involved from the beginning already of the phase when we drafted the impact assessment, when we drafted the legal proposal. So they are always involved, because, to be honest, we need also their data. We cannot, let's say, rely just on our own research. We have a consultant we had a consultant who also kind of compiled and analyzed and drafted these scientific reports, or these reports about it. But nonetheless, it's really important. But what we really need is to have a comprehensive view, not only to be kind of influenced by, let's say, today by the German machinery producers or by. So for us, it's important to have the comprehensive view and to make our own picture, because all these stakeholders have their very specific, so we have to kind of keep the helicopter view and to try to filter also a little bit all this information, not overkill, but all this valuable information that we are receiving.
I kind of like that image of the helicopter view you just painted. Do you have any last words that you would like to address to the industry, the packaging and processing industry, with regards to the regulation?
Well, first of all, we have huge support from the industry a priori for this new approach. They are aware. The member states are also aware of this shift, of this game-changing aspect of the new regulation, so that we come out now with sustainability requirements on product level imposed, put on the economic operator. And this is a huge step forward. It will also change something in the national kind of currently, the member states, they just have to think about these targets and so on. But in future, they will be the ones with their market surveillance authorities who have to police our new rules, and so that the companies, they comply with these sustainability requirements at product level. So this is the important thing, the shift for the member states, but for the industry, they are well aware, and they are especially aware about the billions of euros of the economic benefits, of the economic savings that they have when this regulation comes. So just my last point would therefore be that the industry is aware and is not, let's say, exceeding or be too demanding. We are very open to constructive proposals to improve the draft regulations, the text, but nonetheless the baseline should be that it is a very important piece of legislation, and if they overdo it, if they exaggerate, then there is the problem, if there's a critical point that all collapses, then this is a little bit the problem there, where I say we are very open to improvements and to further fine-tune it, but please, the baseline should be get it through within 1 year, within this legislature of the current European Parliament, because otherwise we will, all these standstill that we imposed for the national rules will be over, and then the mushrooming of national rules will explode again.
It is a very ambitious regulation. Dr. Trunk, thank you so much for coming to us and speaking with us, for taking the time. I hope you can relax now for the rest of the day.
Okay, thank you for the invitation. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much.